With us today is Charles Gasparino, a journalist, the author of the great book, Go Woke, Go Broke, and Fox Business Network program expert. Charlie, what the heck is going on out there? We have maybe a new president. By the way, does Joe Biden know he's not president anymore? Or he might not be president anymore?
Well, I mean, he still is. I mean, who knows? I mean, This is the weirdest thing about this whole, news cycle over the last 24, 48 hours is that we haven't heard from the president. I mean, he dropped out of the race. He, put out some official announcement.
Did he sign that document?
I mean, whether he did or didn't, I mean, is he okay? I mean, he has COVID? I mean, apparently he was getting better from COVID. That's what we heard. He was ready to hit the campaign trail. And yet we don't even see him out there. I mean, you would think with such a momentous decision as dropping out of a race at the last minute after arguing against everybody, against reality for most people, and then the Democratic Party establishment, at least since the debate, that he was okay, he would at least come out and say something, and he hasn't. I mean, this is really weirdly unsettling not to have a president present is really, really bad.
It's scary.
And it's scary. And I just don't, I mean, we just pray that this thing, goes away fast and, he comes back and he's somewhat cognizant. To me, John, the biggest story here, well, first off, there's two stories that I'm following. Number one, there was a Trump trade that was put on. People were betting that Trump was going to win easy against Biden and Republicans take the House and the Senate. You got to put that on hold right now. I mean, I think that's some of the volatility you've seen in the markets. Markets are, just flat today, but last week they sold off. Is the notion that Trump is a better candidate than Biden. I mean, Kamala Harris has a lot of negatives. There's a lot of never Trumpers out there. And, he doesn't poll well and he has high unfavorability. So there is a thought in the markets that could still lose this thing. So against a different opponent that's not, that's sentient. So that's one thing that I'm following. The other thing is, and I'll tell you this, John, this is a huge story that's, the mainstream media can't cover it because it's like covering themselves. Like I never want to write about yourself in the journalistic sense, right? Because they were part of the cover-up. The DC, particularly the DC press corps, was part of the cover-up. This guy,
Charlie, one important question. Were they stupid or were they just covering up?
A combination of both, probably. But, I mean, here's the thing. John, I went back and I looked. I found this article and I used it as a column that I wrote last June 2023. And I used that as a jumping off point for my column in the Post this morning. Is that in June 2023, Wall Street research reports were getting published about Joe Biden dropping out because he looked like he couldn't handle it anymore. This is last year. And that he just was not there, stumbling through stuff, not walking right, just looking incapacitated. This is last June, and they were talking about in these reports, like the odds, what happens if you do it later rather than sooner. If you do it before the convention, it becomes chaotic. I mean, they went through all these scenarios. This is Wall Street research that I wrote about it. How come the D.C. press corps couldn't figure this out? Think about that. Some guys on Wall Street working at Goldman Sachs, and I think the research report I cited was Piper Jaffray, but there was people at J.P. Morgan. They were putting these things out there like left and right last June. And it's scary that you had this huge cover-up between the Democratic Party establishment and the D.C. media establishment, who, there's sort of a symbiotic relationship there.
Who has made all the decisions at the White House the last 6 months, and who's going to make them the next 6 months?
Part of the problems with the administrative state, John, is that elected officials don't make all the decisions. They give broad 30,000 feet directives, and then they appoint people that are very powerful, run these major agencies. And, these are the people that run the government. And that's part of the why conservatives, or at least small market people, small government people like us say, whoa, that's taking power away from the people. The Supreme Court has ruled as much recently on some of its decisions. I think it was the Chevron decision in particular.
Last question. What's going on with the airlines?
Well, we should have a Treasury Secretary who's, the Treasury Secretary is essentially Pete Buttigieg, is supposed to be in charge of our economic infrastructure. In the old days it was roads and bridges, but we also have a cyber infrastructure that's really important. And I keep hearing people touting what a great job he is. He's the future of the Democratic Party. But the guy fell down on the job on this. I mean, we do have vast holes in our cyber infrastructure. If one computer program from one company that's being used a lot, obviously, can blow up like a chunk of the economy, where is the federal? This is like what the federal government is supposed to do to make sure that the well-being of people is secure, and that business, when business screws up like that, government steps in and does something, and that's the basic role of government. But I think this comes down to like incompetence in the administrative state, because he's one of the people that Biden relies on to run the country, and that's why the country's in such bad shape.
Your book,
Go Woke, Go Broke.
Go Woke, Go Broke. When is it coming out?
Comes out on the 6th of August. You can pre-order now.
Amazon?
Yeah,
Barnes and Noble?
Get them all. And, I talk a lot about DEI, and Kamala Harris figures large in that debate, by the way.
Charlie Gasparino, thank you so much for coming on and giving us a briefing, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Go Woke, Go Broke.